So the first thing we have to mention here is that no, Lara Croft Tomb Raider is not going to be a dominating commander, it is going to be an overall decent commander. But I really wanted to make this video anyways because I really like the design they have given the card, how it actually functions. And truth be told, she's not that terrible. She's red, blue, green for a 3/4 legendary creature human ranger. With first strike and reach, and I really wish that was haste instead of those two, because whenever Lara Croft attacks, exile up to one target legendary artifact card or a legendary land card from a graveyard and put a discovery counter on it. You may play a card from exile with a discovery counter on it this turn, and that's why haste would be better. But she also has Raid. At the end of combat on your turn, if you attack this turn, create a treasure token. Now she doesn't need to be the one attacking, you just need to be attacking with something and you will get a treasure. So Lara Croft Tomb Raider will have both card value and mana ramp in the end, all in one card. So first thing first, how good is this going to be inside cEDH? Because we always end up talking about cEDH on this channel.
You should rename the channel to cEDH.
Yeah, I guess. It's the most common commander that I do play. The 5-colored cEDH Weatherlight Captain always wants to have legendary creatures in general, especially the ones that actually generate treasures or mana in some form of way, which this one does. But it's like only one treasure, and the other ability to like bring a land from your graveyard back is not super. Also, the amounts of artifact that Tomb Raider Lara Croft can reanimate for cEDH are also kinda limited. One legendary artifact that cEDH do play that you could reanimate with Lara Croft is Akata Sol's Cauldron. However, you already have better ways to actually bring this back, like Lurus, and Lurus can bring back your Dockside. So I think Lara Croft for cEDH is just limited. So I don't think that the Lara Croft Tomb Raider is something for cEDH in the end.
Don't care. That lady got style.
And besides cEDH, I don't see a huge world of commanders that could desire her in general, I would say. So let's talk about her as a commander. So the card that should go to everyone's mind that we're going to potentially bring back from our grave or an opponent's grave is the One Ring. This card is actually really good. And I do like that we can, for example, gamble for the One Ring, and if we accidentally discard the One Ring to the graveyard, then the Tomb Raider can get it back anyways. And with the One Ring we should usually have a pretty good game plan, as this is usually drawing a tremendous high amount of cards. Among all the different kind of options that we have, there's lots of different lands like Academy Ruins, we have Rivendell, it's a legendary land I guess, we have the Shire, it's a legendary land I guess, Gemstone's Caverns, that's played in basically every single deck more or less, we have Hall of the Bandit Warlord. This is actually a land that won't work with our commander. I kind of want to showcase it anyways because it's a legendary land, but this is probably not something you should play because Lara Croft don't have generic mana in her. Now she could have a commander tax and then this will work. This will actually give Lara Croft the haste that she needs to go to attack and get her trigger immediately. We also have there's so many different weird legendary lands you can actually play inside this deck. My big pitch is Windfall, or Wheel of Fortune, or Windfall, or just drawing and discarding cards in general. Because I guess we wanna put cards into the grave so we can convert her into card draw, basically. For example, let's say you're drawing a card and discarding a card. You're not increasing your hand size, you're not gaining card value. But with Lara Croft you actually are gaining value by having cards in your graveyard. And that is where a Windfall comes into play, dropping Gemstone Caverns or Academy Ruins to the graveyard and then using your commander to gain value from the grave. Yeah. If you're self-milling, or I don't know, something, if an Mox Amber ends up in a graveyard, you can reanimate that. You have Mox Opal, you have Chromatic Array, huge artifact that's legendary. We also have the channel lands, like Otawara Soaring City, that can actually discard itself to the grave and then use your commander to gain it as a land drop. Yavimaya Cradle of Growth, another legendary land that you can play. So making her gain a value each turn shouldn't be that tricky if you have a really high legendary land count and a really high drawn discard effect in general. So as a 3-color identity commander that is like drawing cards, generating mana, it looks kinda decent so far. And if we take a look at Temur currently in general, it's not performing that bad. From 247 decks that have entered into tournaments, we have an average win rate from all of those decks together of 23.83, basically almost 24% on average. And this is looking at all Temur decks as a collective, not a specific one. For example, we have Thrasius and Dargo sitting on 24.05 from 77 decks that have entered into tournaments or tournament entries. We have Tropical Malcolm and Tana with the Glinthorn Buccaneer combo basically sitting on an amazing 26.38 average win rate. So far Temur actually looks pretty amazing. There is one big problem though. This deck has a clear combo for it. Malcolm in the command zone together with Glinthorn Buccaneer from the 99 creates a 2-card combo that wins on the spot. Dargo Thrasius the same, they also have a clear, or not one clear, many different potential ways to win the game with Thrasius and Dargo. In other words, they have combos that synergize with the commander in the command zone. Lara Craft Tomb Raider currently doesn't have a typical combo in the 99 that will work with the commander. This is only a mana dork and a card draw effect. And you can't win from infinite mana, so Dockside Temur Sabertooth will only be infinite treasures, but after that, nothing else. In other words, as we don't have a combo going for us, we have a problem. You see, the Temur average win rate is pushed up by these commanders that are performing really well that I showcased, and that means that Lara Craft's average win rate is probably gonna be weaker compared to that value over there. Or something around that value, but maybe like 22 or 21, who knows. It's very hard to say it in detail, but yeah, I think you're getting a picture here. However, here's where the potential suddenly appears. You see, artifacts that are legendary, that are loopable. What options do we have? It would be awesome with an artifact that said, sacrifice and take an extra turn. Now that artifact doesn't exist, or well, it actually does exist, but that artifact goes to exile, so it won't work. But we can loop mindslaver. And this is where things are gonna be like fun. And by the way, if that artifact didn't exist, I probably wouldn't have made this video, because that is the card that I think is going to kinda make Lara Craft something you can win games with on a higher power, or well, I think Lara Craft with mindslaver will work perfectly in a casual competitive or a high power level, like lowered power level, but also I don't think that Lara Craft with mindslaver is gonna be okay in casual. Like, cast mindslaver, sacrificed it, control someone, and do the same thing next turn. You can sit and dictate people and like control the game on a very extreme level. And people don't like that in casual. But it's also just too weak versus competitive decks in general. Like, this is freaking 10 mana, that's enormous. We can't pay that. Well, you can reduce the casting cost now and then, here and there, and yeah, she is generating a treasure, she's building a mana base, like she's putting land into play from the graveyard, so yeah, she can get there. But once again, it's not gonna work out versus true, or it's gonna struggle versus some really optimized competitive commander decks in general. But it will have a punch versus some lower power level decks, where you have time to build up towards this stage. So no, we don't have a combo, we have potential. There are artifacts that are loopable by simply sacrifice them, they go to graveyard, cast them from the grave, and you can loop and generate infinite mana. However, her ability is limited to only attacking. And you can only like cast something that you have exiled with a discovery counter on it, which means that you can't just sit and sacrifice an artifact, cast the artifact again, sacrifice an artifact, and cast the artifact again. Otherwise she would basically go infinite with Mox Amber or Mox Opal, and then she would be truly terrifying. But because it's limited to like just once per turn, or well, you can actually have an aggravated assault and attack with her, cast mindslaver, use aggravated assault to gain an extra combat step, and then attack again, and then sacrifice mindslaver, cast mindslaver, and yeah, you have a loop, but you don't have the mana to do that. I hope this card review video gave you some inspiration and ideas of Lara Craft, Tomb Raider's potential and power level in general. Overall, I think she's gonna work out like a Temer good stuff commander. You're basically playing a decent commander in the command zone that have like good abilities in general. There's nothing wrong with her, except that she's like lacking a combo from the command zone, but yeah. She still has some decent abilities that's going to work in general in a lower power level. You can still play some really good like dual custom mage, heat shimmer, twin flame. You can play the entire freeze breach combo with brain freeze, lion's eye diamond and underworld breach. Brain freeze and Lara Craft is actually going to work pretty good. So in the end, a decent Temer good stuff commander. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed the video. Take care guys, and I'll see you in the next one.